Today is January 16th, 2021. As I speak, there are only 4 days left until Joe Biden becomes the 46th President of the United States of America. Joe Biden's inauguration is on January 20th, 2021, which also means that Donald Trump only has 4 days left of being the President of the United States. Now, one thing that Joe Biden is going to have to deal with once he actually becomes President of the United States is getting getting the COVID-19 vaccine out to over 300 million Americans. In the United States, I don't remember the exact number, but at this point in 2021, the population is around 330 million. It might be even more than that at this point. So, with that many people in this country, getting the vaccine out to as many people as possible is a really difficult challenge. Because in order to reach herd immunity, you need around 80% of the population to be vaccinated. It's around there, but we're not sure of the exact number at this point in time. But let's just say we had 300 million people. 80% of that is over 230,000 people. So getting the vaccine out to at least 250 million people ish, that is a really daunting task and a task that requires phenomenal levels of coordination, especially getting it out to people in just the next few months. That is a task that takes lots of skill to deal with. So, I want to talk about in this video how much of the vaccine has been distributed so far across the United States. I want to talk about how many doses that different states have gotten and how many doses that people across the country overall have gotten. So, as I speak, on January 16th, 2021, almost 40 million people across the world have gotten at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Some people have even gotten two doses because both the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine, both those vaccines require that the people who get the vaccine get two separate doses of the vaccine. I think Pfizer requires a 21-day interval between the two doses, while Moderna requires a 28-day interval between the two doses. So, either way, a person who gets the vaccine has to wait almost an entire month after getting the first dose before they can get the second dose. So that might be a bit of an issue, a bit of a logistical issue. The other issue is that people might start going out when they've only gotten one dose, but it's a lot better for them to wait for the second dose. The first dose provides some protection, but not nearly as much as the second dose. But one way that could potentially be avoided in the future is that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine apparently only requires one dose, and that hasn't been released yet. I don't think any country has actually started distributing not the Moderna, the Johnson & Johnson vaccines. I'm pretty sure that every country in the world currently distributing the vaccine, they're either distributing Pfizer or Moderna or maybe AstraZeneca. I haven't really kept up with that vaccine as much, but I know for a fact that Pfizer and Moderna are being distributed all over the world. And like I said, almost 40 million vaccines, around 39.7 million doses have been administered in total across the world in the past, I guess, less than 2 months slightly. Vaccinations in the United States actually began on December 14th, which was just over a month ago at this point. So, January 14th was the first day that somebody got the first dose of the vaccine, which means that people started getting the second dose of the vaccine in early January because you have to wait at least 3 weeks for the second dose. For the Pfizer vaccine, it's 3 weeks. For the Moderna vaccine, it's 4 weeks. So, at this point, it looks like around 2.5 million people across the world are getting the vaccine every day, or at least 2.5 million doses are being given every day, which means, yeah, 2.5 million people at this point in time are getting the vaccine across the world every single day, which is definitely more people now than before. More people per day are getting the vaccine at this point in time than, let's say, like a month ago. So, in the United States specifically, around 13.7 million shots have been given. 13.7 million COVID-19 shots have been administered in total in the past month or so. It began December 14th, so it's been a little more than a month since the vaccinations began in the United States. And at this point in time, around 850,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine are being given every day, and these are mostly the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. I don't believe that the AstraZeneca vaccine has actually been approved yet by the FDA, so at this point in time, it's just Pfizer and Moderna that are giving out vaccines to the American people. And like I said, 13 point million people, 13 point millions, 13.7 million shots, sorry, have been given across the United States. Now, that doesn't mean 13.7 million people necessarily, because some of those shots could have been to the same person twice, because in order to receive full protection, you need two shots of the vaccine. So, out of that 13.7 million, it's possible that some of those shots were given to the same person twice in order for them to receive full protection. But let's see, I'll see on this website, on Bloomberg.com, that's where I'm getting all this information from. We'll see if I can actually find the number of distinct people that have gotten at least one dose. So, apparently, according to Bloomberg.com, for every 100 people in the United States, around 4.2 doses have been administered. Out of all the states in the US, it looks like North Dakota, South Dakota, and West Virginia have vaccinated the highest percentage of their population. For every 100 people, North Dakota's vaccinated around 6.7 or 6.95%. Actually, that's a bit of an inaccurate statement. Essentially, 6.95 vaccinations have been given for every 100 people in the state of North Dakota, which doesn't necessarily mean 6.95% of the people, because some people have gotten the vaccine twice, so it's really a little less than 6.95%. It says here that in total, 53,000 doses of the vaccine have been administered, and out of those, 7,500 people have gotten a second dose of the vaccine. So it's not actually 53 million distinct people that have gotten the vaccine. It's 53 million doses, but some of those doses went to the same person twice, so it's a little less than 6.95% of the population. I guess it's around 6% of the population that have received at least one dose, and I guess around 1% of the population that has received two doses. So, it appears North Dakota is one of the best states in terms of percent of its population that's actually gotten the vaccine. South Dakota is also doing pretty well. 6.45 doses given per 100 people in South Dakota. 57 doses in total. Out of those, almost 10,000 doses are to a second person. Or, I mean, like, out of the 57,000 doses, 10,000 of those were given to the same person twice. Says here, yeah, 9.7 thousand people have gotten a second dose, but in total 57,000 doses have been administered, which means that around 47,000 distinct people have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine, and out of those 47,000, around 10,000 have gotten a second dose. So the Dakotas are doing pretty well in terms of their vaccine distribution, but that's mainly because they have a small population. Both of those states have under a million people in total, while most other states in the United States have more than a million people. West Virginia is also another state doing well in terms of percent of its population vaccinated, but once again, West Virginia has a small population. In total, around 8.42 doses have been given per 100 people in that state, which is actually the best out of every state in the United States, but once again, they have a small population. So 151,000 doses of the vaccine have been given in total in West Virginia, and out of those, 23,000 doses was given to the same person twice, meaning that 23,000 of those doses were second doses, meaning that they were given to people who already had one dose, but they needed the second dose to fully be vaccinated. Now, the last state that's doing pretty well is Alaska. They've given, for every 100 people, they've given 7.51 doses of the vaccine. 55,000 doses have been given in total, and 11,000 people have gotten a second dose of the vaccine, which means that 44,000 people in Alaska in total have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine. And out of those, a quarter of those people have gotten the second dose, so those are all states with small populations, and that's why they've gotten a higher percentage of their population vaccinated. But in terms of the absolute number of people that have gotten vaccinated, the states that are doing the best with that are Texas, California, Florida, and New York. So those are actually the four states with the most amount of people, so it would make sense that they would give the most number of vaccinations to their respective populations. Texas is in first place for the number of doses actually given out, even though they're only second place in terms of population. Texas has like 28 million people, California has like 37 million people. So it's kind of interesting that Texas has actually administered more doses of the vaccine in California, but it turns out that California has been given more doses of the vaccine have been distributed to California, but not all of those doses have actually been given to people yet. So even though California has more vaccines on hand, not as many of those vaccines have actually been given out. And Texas, with its 1.2 million doses of the vaccine administered, it has been it has administered the most number of vaccinations. California is shortly behind though. Texas administered 1.2 million doses, California 1.188 8 million. So California is only around 12,000 doses behind Texas in terms of the number of doses of the vaccine that have actually been administered. And then Florida is quite a ways behind because Florida's only given out around 1 million doses of the vaccine, 1.02 million to be exact. So Florida's in third place, New York's in fourth place with 861,000, and then beyond that, there's many other states, but it would make sense that the states with more people have given out more doses of the vaccine. That makes sense. And we can actually look at on Bloomberg.com on their COVID vaccine tracker website. They actually also show the number of vaccines that have been given throughout the United States every single day since the distribution process began. So in the first week, on not even it's not even on a weekly basis. They actually at this point they're able to show every single day how many vaccines have been given because not that many days have passed since the vaccine first started being given out. Probably in the future they're going to switch to a week by week counter, meaning that you can only look at it per week. But on the on the graphic right now, you can actually see every single day how many vaccines were given out. And as you may expect, the most number of vaccines have been given out in the last week or so, meaning that at the start of the vaccination process, not that many doses were being administered per day, but lately a lot more doses have been administered every single day in the United States. So in the United States, yesterday and the day before, meaning on January 14th and 15th, each of those days had over a million people vaccinated, which is pretty good news. A million people or more vaccinated per day. That's a pretty good number. So January 14th, 1.1 million doses administered. Same with January 15th. So in the past few days, the vaccination process has been faster in this country than at the start of the process. So I'm hoping that this process can continue to go on at this speed or even faster. Maybe they can even reach like as high as 2 million vaccinations per day. That would really make the vaccination process go by a lot quicker. We can reach a herd immunity. We can reach herd immunity a lot faster, and we can get life back to normal in maybe just a few months from now. Maybe like summer of 2021, if not summer, then fall 2021. Hopefully by the end of 2021, we reach herd immunity for sure, and life is almost completely back to normal. But I can't predict the future. We're just gonna have to see what happens.